Hi, I'm Jake from TradeLab.ai. In this video, I want to talk about the trade settings panel. So here I am in the new builder, and over on the right, I see this trade settings panel. We can get to that by pressing the trade settings button, this little gavel icon in the top right. So this trade settings panel holds all the different settings that we're going to use when we're trading. So things like how much we're going to trade, what side we're on, what symbol we're trading, if we're trading market or limit, that sort of stuff. So we're going to go through all the options in this video. The first option is the name. This is pretty self-explanatory. You can change the name of the strategy to whatever you want. For any of these, you can also hover over the black eye icon over on the right side, and you can read what each of these does. Okay, so this one is the name, obviously. This is active. So if this is true, the strategy will run. If it's false, the strategy will not run. You can also see the active button up here. So you can click this and it'll turn green if it's running. It'll turn red if it's not running. Okay, so that's the active. Next we have market mode. So market mode is either contract or spot. So that just depends on what type of symbols that you want to trade. Whenever you change this, the symbol dropdown changes as well. And next is exchange. So here we have all the different exchanges that you've set up. If you need to set up an exchange, you can go over to the settings screen and set up an exchange over there. Next is symbol. You can select your symbol here. You can also search for a symbol. If you have a lot of symbols to choose from, searching helps. So we can select the symbol there. A couple things to note about symbol. So the symbol is pretty important that it matches exactly what it shows here when you send your alert. So normally when we set up our alerts, we would make sure that our symbol is the same there. So we can see that in the drop down we have a symbol, but we can also see that if we do dynamic, it'll send a ticker. Ticker means that TradingView will send what it has as the symbol automatically. And that works sometimes, but sometimes TradingView's symbol doesn't match what TradeLab has for the symbol. And TradeLab actually uses the symbol that the exchange gives us directly. TradingView deals with so many exchanges and so many different symbols. Many exchanges actually have duplicate symbols. And for us, it's not a problem because we actually have them on different APIs and we can keep them separate. But for TradingView, it can become an issue. So they sort of nickname the symbols, and that's why sometimes they don't match. So if that ever happens, you can always uncheck the dynamic box and you can see type by, and now symbol is the symbol that we selected in our drop-down box in trade settings. All right, so that's a note about the symbol. Let's move on to side. So the side is either buy or sell, either long or short. And for very simple strategies, you'll want to set this to whatever you want to trade. However, oftentimes we're using a combo template. And a combo template is where we have these rules and we're listening for either a buy or a sell alert. And because of that, we can actually change the side on the fly. So you see here where it says strategy trade settings. Well, that's these right here. And so we're actually setting the trade settings side equal to buy. So we would be setting this drop down to buy. And this one here, when we hear our sell alert, we would set the side to sell. So we would set this drop down to sell. Okay, so that's really the basics of how TradeLab works. What these rules are doing, they're just changing stuff over here. They're changing stuff in the alerts and the variables, that sort of stuff. And so all that is to say that many times you don't actually have to worry about side. If you're using a combo template and you know that your rules are actually changing the side for you, then this drop down will change automatically. Sometimes you'll come in here and it'll say buy. Sometimes you'll come in here and it'll say sell. It just depends on where the bot last left off. Okay. So now we'll move on to order type. Order type is either market or limit. If you choose market, it'll usually fill immediately, but it won't necessarily fill for the price that you wanted. If you choose limit, it will fill for the price that you want, but it won't always fill immediately, and sometimes it won't ever fill. It just depends on if somebody in the market is going to hit that price, right? So market orders fill rather quickly, while limit orders can take some time. Limit orders, you're always going to get the price that you want. So sometimes that's what you want to go with. However, you have to realize that you may be waiting for that order to fill, at which point the bot will be in limbo, if you will. It'll be processing other alerts, but it won't actually be placing orders or doing anything. It'll sort of be stuck until that limit order is filled. Okay, and we do accept partial fills, so it can get partially filled, and then we'll go ahead and start running our orange rules over here. Okay. In a moment, we'll talk about a couple things that we have to watch out for when we select limit, but let's move on. So next thing we'll talk about is how much we want to trade. TradeLab.ai does a lot of math for you and allows you to select your own amount type and how you want to define your amount. So you could say 50 USD. You could also change it to coin, and you could say 50 coins or 5 coins. You can also change it to percentage, and that will give you 5% of your balance. And that's going to be 5% of your available balance. And when we do that, that's going to compound your profits and losses. So in this trade, we use 5%. And if we make some money, then the next trade, 5% is going to be a little bit more because our wallet grew because of that profit. We do have a couple other options, such as contracts. So if you're trading contracts, derivatives, and you just want to say, 3 contracts, that could be any number of coin, right? Or any number of USD. And so if you know that you want to trade 3 contracts, you can just say contracts. And then we also have risk percentage and risk USD. These are special options that are based off of your stop loss. So we do have a video on how to set up stop losses and take profits. You can go take a look at that. But as long as you have a stop loss set, you can set up risk percentage or risk USD, and that will allow you to define how much you want to risk. And then we will define the actual size of your trade, right? So for example, if I wanted to risk 5% and I had my stop loss set at 1% and I had my leverage set at 10, then I would end up using 50% of my balance. That's how that math works. So we would take the amount that you want to risk, divided that by the stop loss, times that by 100, and then divide that by the leverage. Okay, so that's how the math works. So that's a good segue into leverage. Leverage is right down here, and you can define a leverage type as well. So you can have isolated or cross, and then you can put in your leverage there. Okay, and now we have time and force. Time and force is related to that order type that we set. So if we put market, usually you don't have to worry about time and force. It's probably a good idea to put time and force to GTC for a market order. However, sometimes savvy people might have other reasons to change it to immediate to cancel. But if you're using a limit order, you definitely need to pay attention to time and force. So with a limit order, if you do immediate or cancel or fill or kill, these two will cancel your order if they're not filled immediately. Okay, so if I place an order and it goes out to the books and it doesn't find an order to match immediately, then it's going to cancel that order that we just put in, and the bot will go back to looking for an entry. Okay. Immediate or cancel means that it must fill, and a partial fill is okay. Fill or kill means it must fill, and it must fill the entire position, no partial fills. Okay. There is a post only as well. This is only for limit orders. And if you send this, this will force a maker order, right? So there's taker and maker orders, and you get better fees usually when you send a maker order. This also, though, guarantees that it will not get filled immediately. So a post only order will go in as a maker, and you're going to wait for somebody to come and fill that. Okay. All right. And then we have GTC, which is good till cancel. So good till cancel is what it sounds like. It's going to stay open until we cancel it. Now, this is something that we have to pay attention to because we're going to have to time this out or have some way to cancel this so that it doesn't stay open forever. Remember, if your strategy is waiting for an order to fill, it'll just sort of stay stuck and not be able to place another order or anything like that until that order fills. So if we say GTC, good to cancel, we then have a limit timeout right below here. So I have this set right now at 1 minute. So this is hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay. And so this would place the limit order for 5%. I would be risking 5%. It would place it for 50% of my balance because that's how the math works out. And that limit order would stay open for 1 minute and try to fill. If it can fill, then we're off to the races, right? The trade is open and we're good to go. If it doesn't fill within 1 minute, and that can be a partial fill or it can be a full fill. If it doesn't fill within 1 minute, then we go ahead and cancel the order. Okay. Moving on, we have limit offset type and limit offset amount. So a limit offset is allowing you to place your limit order away from where the current price is. TradeLab always places your orders by getting the latest price from the exchange, and then we place your order at the latest price. If you want to place the order below or above the latest price, that can sometimes give you an advantage in trying to get it filled. So to do that, you can offset it. Once again, I'll do the math for you so you can dictate how you want to do it, do the math in your head. You can do it by a chart move percentage, a margin percentage, a USD relative, so an offset in US dollars from the price, the current price. You can also do it from a coin offset. So defining, zero point 0.01 of a coin, and I'll convert that into a price and do an offset of that. And then a USD exact price. So if you want to define your price, I want to set a limit order and I know exactly what my price is and I want to set that price. This is how you do that. Okay. So if I have a limit offset type and I do USD exact price, then I can say if this is Bitcoin, right, it would be like 22,000, whatever. Right. And I would put that in and that would be the exact price that I would put my order in for. Okay. When we're placing orders, we have a place order right here, and that's going to follow this order type. So market or limit up here. When we do a close order, that's going to follow this order type, the exit order type. And usually we leave the exit order type as market. Even if we want to do a limit and we want to get in at the right price, it's always a good idea with a bot to do a market exit, just to make sure that we get out when we want to. A lot of times it's more important to get out when we want to, around the relative price of the bar, of where we are, rather than getting out at some exact price within that bar. Usually you have traveled a certain distance, over the period of time that you've been trading. Hopefully you've made, some profit. And at that point, usually we don't want to nickel and dime. We can just hit what we want and make sure that we get out. The main thing is if you're trading manually, you might be more confident and try to get that exact price. When you're doing this automated, if you're not going to be here watching it, you definitely want to make sure that it closes, resets, and gets ready for the next trade. You don't want it to get stuck, right? So that's the only reason I say that we recommend doing market, but it's really up to you, right? And that's why this option is here. Okay. We also have pricing mode. So I said that we always use the last price. In some exchanges, I'm able to change this. Right now, those exchanges are Bybit, uh, BitGet, and Phemex, I believe. So if you're using those exchanges, you can change this. If you're not, changing this won't really do anything, but it shouldn't break anything either. Okay. You can select mark price or index price. These prices are more averaged and slower. They lag behind what the last price traded was. It can be helpful to use that in some cases, in some scenarios, to have that lagging price. But most of the time, it's best to be right in the action, and that's why we use last price. Okay. We do offer the ability to turn on and off case sensitivity. So you're sending alerts in and you're comparing stuff in your rules. If you ever find that you need to be more specific and you want to be case sensitive, you can turn this on. It's off by default. We do have a sleep function, so you can turn this off and on here. However, usually you'll use the sleep alerts. If you haven't heard about the sleep alerts, you can go check out our sleep video. This allows you to put your strategies to sleep and wake them up. And that's a little bit different than turning them off and on. A strategy that's off can't really turn on because it's not processing any alerts. But a strategy that's asleep will still process all of its alerts, and it might hear an alert that wakes it up, and then it can start placing orders. Strategies that are asleep won't place orders. And moving along, we have the enable schedule and the active time start and active time end. So with this off, these two boxes don't do anything. But turning this on allows us to put in a particular time that we want to turn our strategy on and off. If you have trouble using this because these buttons get in the way, you can press this X button and those buttons go away. And now we can use this area of the screen. Okay, and so if we want to set this up so that when we go to bed, it will turn off automatically, so that we don't have to remember to turn it back on, we could say, okay, I'm going to put this to, turn off when I go to bed and then turn on when I wake up, right? And lastly, we have lock alert symbol. I actually did a whole video on this explaining what this is, but basically, you can turn this off and you can hear alerts from other symbols. If you turn this on, you can only hear alerts from the symbol that you have selected at the top here. Okay. And that'll do it for the run through of every setting in trade settings. I'll have other videos that cover the other tabs, how to set up alerts, how to set up variables, TPSL lines, and how to share your strategy. But thanks for joining me on this one. If you have any questions, you can always send me a support ticket by going to the help button down here and clicking on create support ticket. You can also join us on Discord. I'm there all the time. If you like this video, go ahead and leave us a like and subscribe for more updates. Thanks for joining us and see you next time.